first.
Hey, James and Tammy, love my pups, my breeder supply, December the 21st. It's Monday, so it's just a few days before Christmas. So this is going to be
See my packages in the back?
Yeah, this is going to be a whole thing about Christmas shopping, right?
Yeah.
This whole video.
Yeah. No, we're staying at home for Christmas, so we're delivering packages to the kids and the grandkids.
I thought this was a video about about procrastination. About why do today what you can put off until tomorrow, which is our way of living, at least mine anyway. Now, this is a video about puppy contracts. So I get lots of people ask about contracts, and they're either asking about what should be in a contract or how they should structure their contract. So we're just going to generally talk about that. Look, what we say here is not necessarily what you should do; it's just our thoughts on it. So, what is the purpose of a contract? And basically a contract is something that tells both parties what will happen when something goes wrong. If everything is great and everybody's happy, the seller, the buyer, the person getting the puppy, the person who made the puppy, then a contract doesn't even matter because you don't have to go to it. A contract is just there so that when things go wrong, everybody ahead of time knows what the procedure is and what you're going to do as the buyer or the seller. So I think that having a contract is smart for both you as a buyer and a seller of a puppy. So, tell me, what should you have in a contract?
Do what?
What should you have in a contract?
Well, you want to make sure that the heart sounds good, that it's good there. No inguinal hernias if you're wanting a breeding female or a stud dog. Inguinal isn't the umbilical hernia. Inguinal is a hernia that's down there on the inside of the inner thigh there. So
you're talking specifically about vet check?
Yes, vet check.
Okay, so let's go through the various things. We'll go into them in detail.
Okay.
So you should have a vet check. So I think that you should require a vet check, right?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so
before they ever leave their home to your new home.
So if you fly a puppy cargo, we don't do this by the way, but if you fly a puppy cargo, it's required that you've had a vet check and acclimation statement, and you will need a written document from your vet to say that this dog is safe to travel and is in good health.
Hopefully you find a nanny. Nannies are great.
Yeah, we use a nanny, and the nanny doesn't require that same, we still do the same thing, but the nanny, of course, the dog goes in the plane with the humans, and it's not going to be subjected to the temperature swings that you
in the cabin of the plane, yeah.
Yes, not in cargo where you've got, it can be sitting on the tarmac waiting to get on the plane. It can be really hot in the summertime, which can be a huge problem, especially for flat-nosed Frenchie puppies. So, a vet check. So, let's talk specifically about the vet check. So go ahead. What needs to be on? So you just mentioned a couple of things on the vet check.
Yeah.
What would you expect on a vet check?
Make sure the eyes and the ears are good. The heart sounds good.
Looking for a heart murmur. Don't want a heart murmur.
Right. And again, like I said, if you're using the puppy for a breeder or a stud, you want to make sure there's no inguinal hernias.
So if there's any hernias, the vet should note that, and you should make sure the vet has written, here's the deal. If you send a puppy to somebody, or you receive a puppy, and there's something that's obviously wrong with the puppy that was not discussed with you or discussed by you with the customer, then there's going to be a problem, right?
Yeah.
So there's no excuse for that. So anything that's abnormal about this puppy in the vet check, you need to have a conversation, say, hey, the doggy's got an umbilical hernia.
Yeah.
Which is not a big deal.
No, it's like, 75 to 100, and different places are going to be different prices.
To fix it?
It's all over. And what it is, it's thin skin over the tummy area, over the muscle, and a little thin muscle. And when puppies are playing, if you've ever raised French bulldogs, sometimes you think they're killing each other in there, and they'll pick on one and hold it down, and it'll be straining. Sometimes that little thin muscle will pop.
Right where it's weakened already with the umbilical cord went through.
Yeah. And it'll be the size of a pea or the end of, like my pinky, which is not a big deal. Now, if it's a big egg, that's a big deal.
Yeah, so we've been in situations before where we didn't even realize there was an umbilical hernia until later on. Typically, those things may not show up.
Well, sometimes they cover themselves up. When the older the puppy gets, the muscle covers it up.
A small one can fix itself, but the point here is if you've got an umbilical hernia, you've got to discuss that with your customer, because it's for you to sort that out. Either to say, hey, look, this dog is going to be used for breeding. It'll have a C-section done. It can be fixed during the C-section.
If it's small enough,
we're going to, we'll do something for you to cover that. But it needs to be addressed. All right. So umbilical hernias.
Yes.
Inguinal hernias is the one that's in the crease of the thigh, and that one is one that, again, none of these are life-threatening. They're all easy to fix. They're not expensive.
Check for loose knees.
The thing about the inguinal hernia is you don't breed a dog that has an inguinal hernia because it's a hereditary component. So again, you need to find out about that ahead of time. If it's going to be a pet, may not be a big deal. If it's going to be a breeding dog, huge deal. All right.
Yeah.
So check for inguinal. Okay.
Yeah. Loose knees. You want to make sure the knees.
Luxating patellas. We're talking about a kneecap that is moving onto the side. And typically, you'll see that in a dog that walks like it's got wet pants. Its knees are out to the side. All right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Elongated palates.
Yes.
Nares. How open are the nares? I mean, these are all things.
We're talking about what French bulldogs are.
Yes. Right. But okay. So that's all.
Some are worse than others.
Right. So we get into nitty gritty here about one particular thing, the vet check. Okay. So the dog needs to be vet checked, right? And so I'd want to see a copy of that sent with the dog, so that, or I will send that copy of the dog to show that the dog is in good health, right? And then you might do even things like a fecal sample, so to make sure there's no gut parasites. Okay. And remember, if you do get a dog that's got a loose stool, it's not uncommon at all. And most of the time,
puppies can stress.
Yeah, it's really easy to fix.
Change of water can stress them.
Well, just the travel. Yeah. The travel being taken away from mum and believe me, it stresses a dog. Yeah.
The other thing, there's some people letting these French Bulldog puppies go at 7 weeks, and that's like, what? That's way too early. They're not ready to leave home then.
We wait till 10 weeks.
We wait till they're 9.5 weeks old, and when I say 9.5, that's when you're coming to pick them up, or I'm meeting you at the airport. But if my nanny's taking them, it's 10 weeks.
So that brings another thing, shot records.
Yeah,
right?
We get the 6 weeks and 9 week shot, and we feel real good about that baby leaving at 9 weeks.
Yes. So you need to provide a shot record and a worming record. That needs to be part of what's sent.
When you're supposed to get your next shot.
Right. What kind of shots were given and when?
5-in-1s.
Or 7-in-1s, or whatever it is, border teller, kennel cough, whatever it is. It needs to be what was given and when.
Right.
And then also what kind of wormings were done. And any medications that have been given, and what they were and when they were given.
Different states, different countries have different rules.
Yep. Right.
But just make sure you have all that information, that when you go to the vet, make sure you don't leave it at home. You take a picture of it on your phone. In case if you did leave it at home, then you've got a picture of it on your phone. But take it and let your vet go over it.
So we've got so far health checkup, vet medication records. Okay. So then the next one I'm thinking of, and it's now escaped me completely. What the hell was I going to say? Oh yes. What the requirements are in terms of when you receive the puppy. You want to put in your contract, this puppy needs to be checked by a licensed veterinarian within a certain length of time of receiving the puppy. So most people will say 48, 72 hours. Look, you may have a weekend involved. I mean, and some people
put holiday.
Yeah, people put in the contract, if this is not done, the contract is null and void.
Yeah.
Don't get too crazy on this. Look, I mean, with COVID going on and these kind of things, it may be difficult for people to get a dog in. They got the dog on Friday afternoon, and you want to have something done in 48 hours, and Monday you say, cut off, you can't do it. That's totally not reasonable.
No, so because there's Mondays that are holidays.
Yeah, so be reasonable in terms of what you expect of your customer, but do require, you don't want to be in a situation where a puppy has been delivered and it's a week later. Now they complain about something that really should have been complained about the moment they got the puppy.
Right. Yeah. Also remember, since COVID, veterinarians, the majority of them all have scheduled, everything's busy. You may have to wait a little while. Try to make your vet appointment before you ever get your puppy home with you.
Right.
Because you can always cancel that appointment if something was to happen.
Right. So that adds the third thing to this, and that is the requirements of the vet checkup and the person receiving the puppy. Okay. Then the next one's going to be in the event that all of these other ones are pretty much about what you're going to guarantee and what your guarantee provides and what you're going to do in the event that there's a problem. So, let's just talk about one other thing. Some people put requirements on there some contracts are like pages and pages about what you can and can't do with this dog. what your conditions are that you're going to keep your dog under. I think this is all pretty much futile. I mean, how the heck can you tell? I mean, look, you want your dogs to be looked after properly, but look, if somebody's not going to look after your dog, how are you going to possibly know that that's the case? So people put things in there like they want first right of buying the dog back if the dog's going to be rehomed. I mean, I don't know how you enforce any of this stuff, folks.
Yeah.
I think that if your contract is pages and pages and pages, you're making it unduly complicated, and you're acting like you're going to lawyer up the moment there's any kind of a problem. So I like to see a contract that's just simple to read.
Yeah,
simple to read. So this
it's got the important things about the health of the puppy.
Yeah, I mean,
health guarantees.
Yeah.
You want to see that.
Yeah, if you start putting restrictions on there about what the dog will be fed and when it's going to be fed and will we go out for walks, I mean, come on, folks. Go ahead and put it in if you want to, but we don't. Okay, so the next big part about this is what are you going to guarantee and what are you going to do if there's a problem? So that's a huge part of this whole this is what the guarantee's for, right? It's okay. So let's talk about what things we would not guarantee. Well, we wouldn't guarantee things like tummy bugs and parasites, and the reason for that is or cherry eye or nares. These are all things that should have been talked about. If you're worried about nares, talk about it when you need to see the puppy with a YouTube video before you ever pick the puppy up or even pay any money, and then you can look over that dog on a YouTube video and on a, what do we call it, FaceTime?
FaceTime.
On FaceTime.
Everybody can FaceTime.
So you can look at things like knees and the structure of the dog and the way its nares look and how its ears are and if they're up or down. If it's got an underbite, all of those things are not things that you get the dog and all of a sudden you say, I don't like the way the dog looks. Because look, I promise you that the chances of you getting an absolutely perfect dog are slim to none, right? I mean, I'm not saying that we sell crap dogs, we don't, but the point here is every dog's got its reward, right? Right?
We wouldn't be in business for 17 years if we sold crap dogs.
But when we do a video, we do explain these things. When we do a FaceTime, we do show that. We show the bite, we show the whole dog, the size of the dog, whether it's got long legs, how it's walking, all of that stuff.
That's what traveling means when you say, I want to see how the dog travels.
Yeah.
It travels well.
Yeah, if you've got a dog and then you don't like the way the dog looks, you're in trouble here. You should have already not even bought the dog in the first place. If you're buying the dog off one picture on Puppy Find, beware. I think that's a huge mistake. All right, so what would be typically in our contract? Well, it's going to cover what we call life-threatening congenital problems. So that means that if the dog is there in the first year from birth, until it's 1 year old, which is our contract, and some contracts may be shorter, and some of them might be longer, but that's one of the things you're going to set in the contract. That you cover life-threatening congenital defects. Life-threatening. That doesn't mean a cherry eye. That might be congenital, but that would not be considered life-threatening. Nor would nares be considered life-threatening. Right, so those are all things that are not life-threatening. Would be things like, the dog collapses and dies, and you have a post-mortem done on the dog, and you find there's got a huge heart or a hole in its heart or something. That would be a congenital defect, which was life-threatening. In fact, it ended up with the dog not living. Right?
Yeah.
So typically, what it'll say is life-threatening congenital defects, and then you will explain the things that are quite common in things like your breed, which might be nares, palates, cherry eyes, coccidia, giardia, common gut parasites, loose knees. All of these things are not life-threatening, but they may still be congenital. So I think you need to specifically say what is not covered that might be congenital. You can't cover everything, but I mean, just be sensible about this. Okay, then the next thing would be, in the event that you say there is a problem, you as the owner of the new puppy, it's 6 months down the road and there's a problem. Now, what will the seller require of you to prove that? And typically most contracts will say they require 2 independent vet confirmations of the problem at your end. and then they'll want a confirmation of the problem at their end when they receive the dog. Now, I remember a time
two vet reports
when we had a dog that showed up with inguinal hernia.
Two of them.
Yeah, this is a lady in Missouri, and her name is Buddha Bulldogs. And by the way, don't ever buy.
No, there's another Buddha Bulldogs now.
Oh,
so
okay.
this woman's gone away. The other Buddha Bulldogs is good.
Her name was Nancy.
Was it Nancy?
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Nancy. Yeah, Nancy.
Yeah, it was here in the States.
Yeah, she's an awful person, terrible person.
Yeah.
But anyway, tell me to just say more about it. But anyway, what happened with that? I'm going to give you an example here. So we had a problem. We specifically said we don't want a dog that has inguinal hernias. We bought 3 dogs from her. 2 of them show up with bilateral 2 inguinal hernias on each dog. So we called her up, and she said, "Well, go have give me 2 vet reports." So we sent her 2 vet reports back. Then she said, "Okay, send the dogs back." We did. And then she said she took it to a vet and there weren't any inguinal hernias, and she never gave us the money back to the dogs back. I mean, what a butthole. I mean, that was a decade ago.
My vet talked to her, and she was screaming and hollering at him, one of my vets, screaming and hollering at him, telling him she was going to take him to court.
Yeah. So I don't want to get. This is just going to get my blood pressure. Yeah, it's going to get my blood pressure up.
Years and years ago. So that name is gone.
But
that
the point
person's
here
not
is,
even in business anymore.
you know, just because you got a contract, and we're going to talk about how you exercise a contract here a little bit. Okay.
Awful way to behave.
Typically, you specify that you want 2 independent vets. Here's the problem. Some vets will look at a dog and the dog's got some minor little thing, and they'll tell you they don't like the idea about you even having a French bulldog. And so they'll find all kinds of roadblocks for you. And so that gets to be an issue where there really isn't a problem with the dog, but the vet says there is. So they're going to want 2 independent verifications of the problem to be confirmed at your end. Now the next thing is, who's paying to get the dog back, and what are they going to do when they get the dog back? Most contracts will say they'll give you a replacement puppy of equal value.
Yeah.
Now, that's well and good, but it might be 2 years before you get that puppy. That's a bit rough, isn't it? You know, most contracts will not pay the shipping in either direction.
Well,
so
you need to do your homework on that part.
I think that the biggest thing that you can do as a person buying a puppy is to check out the people you're buying from.
Exactly. Google it.
Yeah, Google it, see if they've got...
Tell them where to go Google, how to go Google that too.
Well, you can put the person's name in, just Google it, and see if there's a lot of stuff that pops up with a lot of people complaining. Better Business Bureau, waste of time, not going to find anything out of the Better Business Bureau. And if you have a problem and you complain to the Better Business Bureau, that's not going to do you looking good. If you think the AKC is going to do anything for you, that's not happening. The AKC has got nothing to do with enforcing contracts. No, they won't do a thing for you. Complete waste of time.
They don't touch that.
Yeah. What you should have done is your homework, and one of the best things you can do is get a reference from some people who bought a dog from this person.
Now, let's talk about what your vet tells you is wrong with your puppy. If you'll also Google it yourself and study up on it, you can pretty well figure out some of the things that are wrong with your puppy. You know.
Absolutely.
And then you're better prepared when you go into the vet, back into the vet, and have this discussion what that puppy needs.
I think that's great advice for any time you even go as a human being to the doctor.
Right.
That you Google what your problem is. Go to the Mayo Clinic if you're a human. Whatever. Go Google and see if you can get some corroborating information that lets you have an idea about what's going on. So when you're told what the problem is...
Don't be a yes person when you go into the doctor's office or the vet's office and say, he says, oh, well, I think we need to have surgery and do this. And you go, okay.
Yeah, this dog needs to go to a specialist to have this done. It's like, you know... You've got to be realistic. You know, if you get a dog, by the way, and that dog, I mean, now that dog's a beautiful dog, it's part of the family, everybody loves the dog, and there's a big problem. And now, you know, and it's got to be fixed, and it's going to cost $20,000 to fix it. You can't expect the seller of the dog to spend $20,000 to fix this. This is not going to do it.
No.
So that's another thing, is in the event there's a problem, who's going to pay for what and how much? I mean, to get
cars for sale.
Oh, to get anybody to spend, you know, 3 times the value of the puppy, it's just not going to happen. I mean, you just can't expect someone to do that. So there's got to have a limit of liability in your contract. It says what you'll do in the event there's a problem, and what you're prepared to pay. So, you know, for us, I don't even think it says it in our contract, but it should say, you know, the limit of our liability is the amount of money that you spend on the dog. Because, you know, you can have a dog that needs to have all kinds of treatments for the rest of its life, and if somebody decides they want to go through that, it might cost $20,000. You can't bankrupt the person who sold you the puppy because of something that went wrong that was really beyond their control, right? Remember, most times when things go wrong, they weren't discovered by the vet. It's just an unfortunate situation, and most of the time, the dog's probably going to be okay. So you've got to be reasonable at both ends. What do you expect as the buyer? What do you expect as the seller? What are you going to do as the seller? So I can tell you, because we've had experience with both ends, haven't we?
Mm-hmm.
So, you know, I think that the sign, by the way, if you Google somebody and you find there's been some problems but they've fixed it, that is a sign of a very good seller. That's a sign of a good breeder. Because there are going to be problems. If they have enough puppies, I promise you there's going to be an occasional problem or two.
And some of the problems isn't genetic. It just happens, just like in humans. You know, you have two perfectly healthy parents, you know, and a couple that's healthy, and something goes wrong in the birth.
Yes. We're 20 minutes into this already. That's fine. That's okay. It's a good conversation.
But anyway, so, you know,
that's another thing. So you get a dog, right?
Yeah.
You got your puppy, right?
Right.
And there's a behavioral problem. It bites one of the kids.
Oh.
What do you do?
Well, if you got small children, and I've had 3 kids of my own, and I've got 5 grandchildren. You're not with them 24/7. You try to be, but you're not. You got small children. They're either going to fall on them, and the puppy bites them, or they take a toy away from them because it was their toy and they whack them in the head with it. That puppy's going to turn around and defend itself. You know, it hurts.
Right.
So, you know, you got to think of things like that why did this puppy bite? Because
so do you think there should be a behavioral thing in a
normally,
contract? Should there be a statement about behavior in a contract? No. Look, if you're buying a sorry folks, if you're buying a dog that is known to be an aggressive dog, then you can expect this. If you're buying a dog like a Frenchie that are very social animals that aren't aggressive hardly ever, then you wouldn't expect this. But I don't think that, again, look at your puppies when they're playing with other puppies. That's the thing about the Facebook, because different dogs have different personalities.
Yeah.
Some dogs are really shy in the same litter. Some dogs are out roaming around.
There's some, male or female, and sometimes it's when females come into heat.
Oh yeah.
Or when they're pregnant, their hormones are crazy.
Well, Cody has a dog. Our son has a dog.
Yeah, and when she's pregnant or she's in heat, she cannot be around the other girls.
Right, and the rest of the time she's a sweetheart.
Meaning the dogs.
Yes.
Yeah. Right. But she loves people no matter what.
Yeah, absolutely. But that's not a behavioral problem, is it?
No, it is not. No. It's a hormone thing, So.
So I think that you've got to go choose the dog that's suitable for your family environment and the age of your kids and your lifestyle. So if you get a dog and the dog is a Jack Russell and it's jumping all over the place, guess what? That's what Jack Russells do.
It's a terrier.
It's called a
There's
terrier.
a reason why terrier breeds are hybrid. That name is beware.
Yes.
They're great dogs. They're great dogs. They just.
Right.
Some of them can be terrors.
Okay, so then the next thing, I'm going to wrap this up here pretty quick, but I think the next thing is what the form of payment is and how you're going to pay. So most of the time, most contracts will require a deposit. So one thing that you need to have in that deposit, I don't think it's even in ours, but there needs to be a discussion about, let's say that you buy a dog, right? You said, hey, I want little Joey, and you've given the people $1,000 deposit, right? Little Joey dies before it ever comes to you, which is horrible, but it happens, right?
Yeah.
What happens? Do you get your money back? Do they hold your deposit on another dog? I mean, I know what we'd do. We'd give my money back. We'd say, hey, we'd love you to have another dog. We're really sad that this happened, but what do we need to do for you? Do you want us to hold that money for another dog, or would you like your money back? But that's one of those things that should be explained in a contract as to what happens in the event that you are unable to deliver the dog that has been agreed upon in this contract. And the contract needs to put down what you paid, what you'll pay, how it will be shipped, who's paying for that. Those are all things that should be in the contract. What else, Tammy?
I think that's it. We need to.
We're 25 minutes into this. I doubt there's anybody left at this.
Maybe they all fell asleep.
We hope so.
Y'all have a good Christmas. We're going to have puppies the 24th, my son's litter, that Christmas Eve. lucky him. And then we're due to a litter the first week of January, and that's lovemypups.com. And then do not forget mybreedersupply.com.
That's right. Okay. Well, we'll probably do another one before Christmas. So if we don't, don't have a Merry Christmas, let's hope 2021's a little simpler than 2020.
Oh, yes.
So those of you who survived it,
everybody's going to welcome in 21.
All right. So we're signing off. Bye, everybody.
Bye.